take a look at the lips and talk about the different components of the lips. Okay, so we're going to go back to notes, and if you don't have enough room on your page like me, then get a second sheet of paper. Almost everybody is going to have their notes spread over 2 sheets of paper because I want you to, and I encourage you to draw real big. When you draw really itty bitty, you can't see anything, first of all. So I want you to really spend time shading and really getting involved with drawing value. And then in order to explore that, you need like a bigger area to shade. So draw bigger. That's what I'm saying. Just draw bigger. So let's talk about the lips. So right underneath the nose, and I'm going to go right over here. I'm going to write the lips. The lips. I'm going to draw just the bottom of the nose, the septum and the nostrils, because the lips, I want to show you the relationship between the lips and that area of the nose. Okay. And then the septum is right here, and then we have our nostril, or the ala is the skin that goes around the outside of the nostril right here. Okay, and then all this is shaded. Okay. I'm gonna shade my nostril so it looks a little darker in there. But make sure you don't shade it in totally black, like not black, not even like that. Just make it a little darker at the top and then fade as you go down. So, you know, it gets lighter as you kind of like, you know, some light can get up into the nose a little bit. So that's what I'm saying. Don't make it like super dark, or it's going to look funny. All right, so sometimes I just like to take a little piece of paper towel when I'm shading large areas, or even like when I'm in a pinch, like I don't have a clean blender, then I'll just fold, fold, and fold until I get a little square of paper towel, and then I'm just gonna like roll it into a cone shape, just rotate around one corner until I create a little blender. How easy is that? Okay, the reason I'm going through this, going over how to create the nose again, is because we want to have a nose so that we could start to discuss the philtrum and the which is an area right between the nose and the lips, the philtrum, and it kind of connects both areas. It's its own little thing, right? I'm going to put a little reflected light in there. All right. Okay. Okay, that's my nose. Now between the nose and the lips, there's this little channel here, and I'm using two lines that kind of start to diverge and come further apart from the top to the bottom. They were never really close together at the top to begin with. There's always a little bit of space. And this also varies. Some people have a very narrow philtrum, other people have a wider one. This tends to be a little wider. The philtrum is kind of shaped like a trapezoid, but it has a little curve on the bottom. And in there, I'm going to put a little bit of shading. Okay, just to show that it like goes below the surface of the skin. It's like an area that goes down. And on the side of the top of the mouth, I'm going to put some shading on either side like that, so that area looks like a slope going down on either side. Why? Because the mouth is kind of on top of a mound of or ring of muscles. That's what gives your lips great maneuverability, flexibility. That's how they can make so many, you can make all kinds of different expressions with your lips. I leave a tiny bit of space between the bottom of my philtrum. That's called the philtrum, Philtrum, and the upper lip area, and just kind of like drawing a curved line that just a little further down that mimics the bottom of that philtrum area. And that will be the top of my Cupid's bow. The Cupid's bow is it's like that little dip in the top of your upper lip area. Some people have like a little pointier lip area up there. Some people have more curvy. It just depends. Both are kind of acceptable. I make my lips wider than my nose. Okay, that tends to be kind of like a rule. Most people have lips that are wider than their noses. So then we have the upper lip area, and you can make your upper lip opening straight if you want, but I tend to put like a little dip in the middle, just like I have for the top of the Cupid's bow. Just a little dip, because there tends to be sometimes a little, the center of the lip here protrudes out a little bit more. And then it's kind of fleshy. Okay, and then it goes up and then it goes down. Up slightly and then it goes down. Lips can be thin, they could be full, they could be very like plump looking. They could be any size, really. I tend to make the lower lip a little fuller, but you can have it be even. That's not wrong at all. And on the bottom of the lip, I tend to put like a little flatter area. And that's the overall shape of the lips. I like to make my lips a little bit flatter. So I wanted to show you kind of like the anatomy of the lip here. So if you look at these notes, the person has drawn a pair of lips on a cylinder. I'm talking about this area of the lower part of your skull, right before your jaw, which is called the mandible. It's part of the jaw area, but it's right above it, above your actual jaw line. It's this area right here. And you could see how the teeth kind of go around that area, that form around that area. I also wanted to show you a couple examples of that. Here's another view of that. You see it's kind of how the teeth go around, like this kind of cylindrical form. The cylinder is the closest thing that we can use to describe the shape of this area here. There's like a side view and a front view. And another front view here. It's this area right here. So there's lots of different areas and names for the different areas of the lips, but I'm going to just make you responsible for the upper lower lip and the philtrum, which is that little dip right above the top of the Cupid's bow. So we're going to just point to this and we're going to call that the upper lip area, upper lip. And this is your lower lip. Now, that little fleshy area does have a name. That's called the tubercle, okay? But I'm not going to make you responsible for that. But if you go into medicine, you will learn that every part of each feature of the face and just every part of the body has a specific name, just like every single little component. So if you want to, we could go ahead and label that. This little bump right at the top lip that kind of protrudes out. Some people have it like it's like a little fleshy kind of area. That's a tubercle. Okay, so the tubercle is going to definitely catch a little light because it protrudes out. Another area that's going to catch light is like these two fleshy areas on either side of the center of the lower lip. And then a little bit right here in the center of the side wings, like that. So those are the areas that we're going to have look curvy. So overall though, I just want to shade my upper lip. This is how I do my shading. I make my upper lip darker than my lower lip because on most people, unless you're wearing makeup to make your lip color the same on the top and bottom, the skin on your lower lip tends to be a little bit darker. The skin on your lower lip tends to look just a little bit pinker. And the flesh of your lower lip also tends to feel a little thinner. And you could kind of see like through it a little bit more. So you can kind of see all the muscle and, well, not all the muscle, but some of the flesh and the blood vessels and some of the color comes through. So I'm going to make the upper lip just a little bit darker. Okay. It depends on your skin tone too, you know. If you have a darker skin tone, then your lips might have more pigment. There might be a brown kind of purplish color. There might be purples in there. There might be browns in there. There might be like red browns in there. If you have a fairer skin, you might have more like pink, like a medium pinks in there. So it just depends on kind of like your base skin tone. So keep that in mind for our future when we are going to do our self-portraits in color. I also want to show you this diagram here of that ring of muscles around your lips. There's literally a ring of muscles that attach this way, like a rainbow, and then they also attach this way. They go like this to form that ring. I also want to put a little bit of dark shading at the corners of my mouth and like right here on either side of the tubercle, that little fleshy pocket right here at the top. Just to have that mouth opening, that little crack right there, that opening, be a little bit more visible and it doesn't get lost. Now what I'm going to do is just take my eraser and erase out a little bit of the shading. Okay, I want my lips to kind of look like they're three-dimensional and kind of popping out in the middle. Sometimes people have like this part that goes in a little bit in the middle of the lower lip. Other people don't. Sometimes it's just like all kind of sticking out in the middle of the lower lip. I also want to make this a little lighter right here, the tubercle. That's going to catch a little light. And just a little bit on the wings, just a little bit on the wings right here. Then I'm going to take my little blending stick and just kind of soften up the edges of my highlights. Maybe even take my blender and just like drawing those little lip lines. Like that. Your lips are very, very thin, flexible skin. They're composed of that. And sometimes at rest, when they're not like stretching into a smile, you'll see these little lip lines, and I'm going to draw some of them in. And they kind of come from the center or the opening of the mouth, and then they curve outward and then down. Sometimes if you put too many, your lips look like they're dry. So you don't want to, you know, don't go too crazy with those lip lines. And then they curve up at the top. So they're kind of like how the eyelashes go on the lower and upper and lower eyelashes, you know, like they curve upward like this, and then they curve downward for the lower lip. Okay. And I'm just going to emphasize some of the shine on the lips a little bit. You know, if I lost a little bit too much of that. And I soften it up with my paper towel. Sometimes a paper towel gives me a little softer shading, like rather than the blending stick or something that has like an exact point. Looks a little bit more natural. Okay. Then you could go in and just with your eraser, erase up here and just kind of clean up the line of your lips. Some people have like little points. Some people have just like a really smooth, wide curve. Depends on what you want. Everybody has different shaped lips. Okay. Sometimes I like to make the little highlights actual like little lines. Put a little bit of these little shine lines here in between my lip wrinkles. I can't say that. Like that. Like that. If you make too much though, it'll just look like the person has very dry lips. Get this girl some chapstick. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shading below. Just to make the lips kind of more curvy, I'm going to put a little bit of shading on the lower third of the lips. Just to have the lips look more like they're curving inward and just overall like popping out. Remember, I'm just building some contrast, and contrast makes things look like they're popping out. Sometimes people have like a little bit of a divot or like a little not shallow, a little indented area. Like kind of like the Philtrum, but it's on the lower part under the lower lip. And you could just kind of put something like that down there. It's not a, you know, it's not a goatee. Sometimes there's actually a little bit of a sharp structure to it. It just depends. I have something like that, but not everybody has that. It just depends on the person. Everybody's different. Like that. Okay, so I found a beautiful tutorial on drawing lips. Now this is of course from a slightly 3/4 side view. It's not fully side, it's not fully from the front, but you can kind of see that there's a darker shading in between the lips. And like kind of in the upper half there's the highlights, and because it's a side view, one side's a little bit lighter than the other side. And there's, of course, some shading right below the lip. You have the Philtrum, which is like this little hollow area here. And what you just want to do is make it a little darker on the side of the lip. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just make it a little bit darker with our pencils on the side of the lip. So like this front part looks like it's sticking out a little bit more. Okay, I'm just putting a little bit more white right there in the center. And sometimes the upper lip casts a shadow over the lower lip, so you could have a little fuzzy dark area of shadow right below the lower lip. So I've put a lot of nice notes, including this illustration in our portrait notes folder. So you could go ahead and check that out, print out some of those notes. And if you want to start a binder, just like as a reference, there's actually a whole like mini book in there that shows you how to draw heads and faces. So I found that, and I also included that. That's up to you if you want to print that out, but it's several pages. It's not like a whole lot, but it could be, I think it might be like 20 pages. So that's up to you if you want a hard copy of that, or you could just keep it as an electronic copy. So there we go. That is my upper and lower lip. This person looks like they're wearing a little bit of makeup because her lips are very, very dark. If I did not want that look, I would definitely lighten up the bottom a little bit and maybe lift it up a little bit, the value, with a kneaded eraser. That's one of these guys here. One of those little gray stretchy erasers. Most of the time they're a gray color. There's other colors, but I would not get them because I found that my students bought them and they would stain the paper, like leave a red or a yellow stain. So you can see here the lower lip catches definitely a little bit more light than the upper lip. So I am going to just lift it up. Lift up some of the values on my lower lip, and that's it. That's it. And I did it pretty much all with just sticking my kneaded eraser there and just lifting it up and having the graphite stick to the eraser. Now I'm going below the tubercle, which is this little bump here in the middle. I'm going to just make that a little bit more pronounced. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a shadow right below that just so I don't lose the separation between my upper and lower lip area. Emphasize that opening. There we go. All right, so now the person doesn't look like maybe they're wearing such a dark lip color.